Okay, we're back with dinner tonight. This is inspired by what's left in the produce bin. So we're gonna make a pasta dish tonight that has a lot of veggies in it. I also found some shrimp in the freezer that I had purchased from Fred Meyer or Kroger. That is pre-seasoned shrimp. It's a pesto shrimp that they coat it with the pesto sauce and then they freeze it. So it's a nice go-to cheat style seasoning, but you also, if you have fresh shrimp, that's great, and you can add your pesto sauce to it. So what I've got for ingredients today is a package of organic pasta. It doesn't matter if it's organic, I guess, but I get it at Costco. We have some grated Parmesan cheese. We've got the shrimp, again my avocado oil, some garlic salt, of course some crushed garlic. I have a zucchini, some asparagus. I had a couple small sweet peppers left over, and then one of my favorite things to cook with is eggplant. It is a great, I like it as a substitute for a meat. It's got a meaty texture to it and a lot of flavor, so don't knock it till you try it. And I will do quite a few dishes with eggplant to show you how you can use it. So I'm going to move everything out of the way. I am going to try to work faster today because it took too long on my first video. So I'm going to show you some basics. Of course, I've washed all my produce, scrubbed it down really well. This is asparagus, got from Costco in a bag. Really, when you're shopping for asparagus, the thinner the stalks of asparagus, the better. The bigger they get, they have like a woody texture and taste to them, and I don't think they're as flavorful. So the smaller, the better. I always cut off kind of when you're looking down where it's kind of purple on the bottom. I cut off a good amount on the bottom. Another way to get your asparagus to last a little bit longer is if you do, like yesterday I told you, cut the tips off and then put them upright in a container of water. That water is going to diffuse up through the stalk of the asparagus. So for this, I'm going to cut it into just kind of bite-sized chunks tonight. My absolute favorite cooking tool is this guy right here. I use it for everything, cooking and cleaning up at the end. So I'll put those to the side. With the zucchini, I put out the whole one because it looks nice, but I found that I had two partial zucchini in the fridge that I had started with eggs or something, and so I'm going to use these up. Cut the ends off. Size and shape of things add to texture of a dish, so I try not to cut everything the same. So with my zucchini today, just going to cut it in fourths. And then just some nice slices. When you're looking for zucchini, I know in the summertime, it's kind of that plant that you have these little tiny baby zucchini one day, and then you have these gigantic fruits that look like they're going to take over your garden. You don't want them to get too big because they get a lot of seeds in them. The big ones are great if you're going to make zucchini bread and shred them, but if you're going to use them in a dish, you want them fairly small. We're a big vegetable house, so pretty much anything goes. Like with the peppers yesterday, these are smaller peppers, so these are just the little sweet peppers. I don't really worry too much about seeds, and really it's just a tiny bit in these little peppers anyhow. So I just cut them into strips. I'll figure out a way to do that fancy camera technique where you cut one and then you snap your fingers and it's all cut. I have no idea how to do that. I don't even know how to get these all spliced together yet, but I'll figure it out. So, cut them up in smaller pieces. You can do them bigger pieces if you like big chunks. I like this because it adds a little color to the dish as well. I'm kind of big about appearance of the dish. And this would be a pretty green dish. I kind of went back and forth if I was going to use the super green pasta or just regular pasta, and I went with regular. Okay, so eggplant. Because I'm just throwing it in a dish and I'm not going to cook it very long, I'm not going to try to draw the water out with salt, but eggplant holds a lot of water in it. So if you're making like eggplant parmesan, which we'll do another time, and you cut open your eggplant, usually I will cut them in pieces like this, and then you sprinkle salt on them. Okay, this one has some spots in it that are kind of bruised. Produce is kind of slim pickings right now, so we'll cut those parts out. No need to throw the whole thing away. But what you do is you sprinkle salt on it, and that draws the water out through osmosis. So there's your science of the day of eggplant. And that pulls the water out so it's not mushy, especially when you're going to bake a squash. Pulling some of that water out makes it so it's not a mushy mess when you're done. Okay, this side was okay. That's a little thicker than I wanted. So what I'm going to do to cut these is I just kind of cut them into cubes. Pick your shape. We're going to saute these in a minute in a little avocado oil and garlic. I've got the water boiling behind me for the pasta. Quick tip on cooking pasta correctly. First of all, you want enough water. 4 to 6 quarts of water for a full package of pasta. The additional water helps it not stick together, helps it cook a little bit better. And then adding a little salt to the water just helps season the water. It doesn't make it necessarily cook any better, but it just seasons the water. And then we'll talk about reserving some of that water at the end. Okay, so I've got my eggplant. Not as much as I had hoped, but it'll work. Most of the veggies will be my dish, and the boys will get more of the pasta and the shrimp. Okay, so there are all of the veggies that we are going to use for this today. I'm not going to put onions in this, but that would be a good addition. And we are going to saute them with some avocado oil and some of the crushed garlic. You can use the bulb garlic and peel it and crush it yourself, but I don't know, I'm kind of lazy and I use a lot of garlic, so I just go with this. All right. Okay, so we have our water boiling, and I add just a little bit of salt to the water. You can hear that change the rate of boil a little bit. And you add your pasta to the container. Something interesting to know about portion size, we're not very good at that in America, but a lot of times in your pasta fork, there'll be a circle in the middle. This one doesn't have it, but that is really showing the correct portion size for one person. And they also have little tools that you can use. But I have, like I said, 2 teenage boys, so we cook a package at a time. So when you get it into the water, you want to move it around for the first minute so it doesn't stick together. The salt helps season the pasta. And so you just get it moving around so it doesn't stick. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pasta water while my pan heats up, because I didn't preheat this pan. When you finish cooking your pasta, first of all, you're shooting for al dente, so it's not super mushy. It still has a little bite consistency to it. But before you drain it in the sink, make sure you reserve some of the pasta water, because it's got good starchy material in it. It's seasoned really well. It has good flavor, and you can put that in with your sauce, and it helps it actually stick to the pasta instead of the sauce kind of running off it, and it helps with the consistency of the sauce. So I take a little bit of my avocado oil. Okay, this annoys my friend Ashley more than anything. I don't really measure. She's always like, what's your recipe? And I just kind of grew up measuring a little of this and a little of that, and you just, I guess you could say that's about a teaspoon of garlic, and a couple, maybe 2 tablespoons worth of avocado oil. When you're cooking, don't be afraid to just try things. I mean, a recipe is good to get you pointed in the right direction, but most of my cooking, first I watched my mom growing up, and she's the most amazing cook ever, but she never cooks with a recipe. So notice that garlic will start popping a bit when it starts to heat up, and I'm just going to add little amounts of this at a time. The eggplant takes a little bit more cooking time, so if I didn't throw it all in a bowl, I might start with my eggplant. I like my asparagus to be kind of crunchy, so I'll start cooking the eggplant and then I'll add the rest of it in. Again, I'm using the favorite pan that I told you about. It's like a 3-inch saute pan with a glass lid. And at first, I like to just coat it in garlic. I'll let that heat up for a few minutes, and then we'll be back. So we've got all the vegetables in there, sauteing together. You can see some of them are starting to brown a little bit. Check on the pasta. Cooking well. I never believe the suggested time on a pasta container. The best way to see is take a few strands and give them a try. I remember my grandma used to say to throw it against the wall, and if it stuck, it was done. And that's still a little too firm, so we're going to let it cook a little bit longer. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of garlic salt to season those vegetables. A little bit of fresh ground pepper to your liking. And then put those in a reserve bowl. Okay, so now comes one of my favorite ingredients. The really easy pre-seasoned shrimp. I turn the heat down a little bit, so you'll notice they'll start to get kind of saucy. You don't want to burn the sauce, so you want to turn that down. Remember that there are numbers on the range for a reason. Some people think that there's off and high, and that's when you wind up in trouble burning things. You can always turn it on high to heat things up, but don't forget to adjust it for what you're cooking. So we'll let those start to pink up a little bit. Check the pasta again. It's looking good. Try to grab them without burning myself. That's perfect. So I'll show you what the consistency looks like. So it's, oops, it's kind of going to be like that. It'll stick together. Okay, and that's a good consistency of the pasta. So I'm going to turn the water down. Now, the trick to remember some of that pasta water is my strainer is in the kitchen sink already. And before I started, I put my measuring cup in the strainer, so when I go over there to strain the pasta, I don't forget to get some of the water. So I'm just gonna scoop down in and get about a cup, don't burn yourself, but about a cup of the pasta water, and just put that aside for reserve. You probably won't use it all, but it's better to have too much than not enough. We'll let those continue to cook. I'm going to dump this real quick and be back. So I've strained the pasta. You don't want to rinse your pasta because that will take all of that great seasoning off of it, and it really makes it difficult for your sauces to stick to your pasta. Okay, so the shrimp are looking good. Turn that up a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit of avocado oil to toss it around so it doesn't stick. Put it in that original pan. It helps keep the pasta warm too. And this is not going to be a tomato-based sauce. This is going to be a pesto and garlic. So adding a little olive oil or avocado oil. If you like olive oil, go for it. And we're a garlic family, so I'm going to add, I don't know, a half a teaspoon of garlic in there. Mix that around. Okay, so those look good. With that, I'm going to throw all the vegetables back in and coat those vegetables with the pesto. Turn my heat down. Now, you can do this with any meat. It doesn't have to be shrimp. If you had some pesto sauce, and remember, pesto is just pine nuts, basil, some garlic, some olive oil. But you could do this with chicken if you want, or you could skip the meat completely. I had a few friends ask for some vegetarian ideas. This is a really easy one. You just don't put the shrimp in. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to dump it into my pasta. And start to turn that around, but before too long, I'm going to grab some pasta and throw it in the pan to go scoop up some of that sauce that's in the pan. Now, if doing too many steps at one time is too much and you're just starting cooking, do one step at a time and just take a little bit longer. That's okay. Cook your noodles, do your vegetables. Okay. So again, the whole point of this silly channel was because my students had asked, they wanted to learn how to cook. And since we have quite a bit of time off, and I really enjoy cooking, I thought I would put something together. I'll try to balance the dishes so they're kid-friendly, vegetarian-friendly, beginner-friendly, but don't be afraid to just try different things and throw them in. Just start with little amounts. You can always add more, but you can't take away. So, the key to a successful dish is always be tasting. Okay, don't put it on a plate until you've tasted it to know if you need to add anything. So I'm going to taste the pasta. And it has really good flavor. I know the vegetables look good. So To plate this up, and I might add, it's a little thick, so I'm going to add some of that pasta water we talked about. And you would think that that would wash the sauce off of it, but it thins the sauce down, but causes it to actually adhere or stick to the pasta. There we go. So if you make pasta at home and it always seems different than the restaurant, that's probably why. Okay, to plate this up, scoop up some good vegetables. Make sure you get some shrimp in there. Usually I don't care what it looks like when I put it out, but this is going online. And then I take some of my grated Parmesan. Less is more, people. Like, not everything has to be coated with sauce and cheese. So just enough like that. And there you have a healthy pasta dish with zucchini, asparagus, eggplant, peppers, and shrimp. Hope you enjoy.